Hello everybody and welcome to Worth It or Not, a short review series about games that I recommend for you to either play or study. So today we'll be talking about Slay the Spire by Megacrit Games with the game engine Leap GDX. Let's get to it then. So, what is Slay the Spire about? Slay the Spire is about deck building, roguelikes, and dungeon crawling. Now, dungeon crawling is a bit short because everything is kind of set up already. You don't actually explore in a sense, but the deck building is very beautiful. The roguelike aspect of the game is very simple. Every run is unique, and no two runs are ever the same. Sort of. I'll talk about that later, but the main thing right now is we must talk about the main concept of the game, which is deck building. Deck building in this game is very easy to understand. You choose the card you want, you discard the cards you don't want. You keep just the right amount of cards you need, because if you have too much, you won't get the card you want. It's complex in the sense that all the cards interact very differently, and in certain situations, you might not want a card that is based on damage when the enemy is doing a certain reactionary move. So, the deck building in this game is very beautiful, and it's designed to me as a developer to have just the right amount of complexity. Next up, we're going to talk about dungeon crawling. Now, I want to talk about dungeon crawling in this game isn't exactly crawling in a sense. You're just choosing two paths, which, truthfully speaking, has the feel of dungeon crawling. The only thing is, most of the dungeon crawling has its outcome shown to you. An example is, if it has an enemy icon, you know it's going to be a fight. If it has a rest icon, you know you're resting there. But the thing is this though, it allows you to plan. As you look through the map, you can see you might want to not take the fights sometimes and try to go for events because they might give you something better than the fights. But a fight always will give you the set amount of things, so you know the standard. The dungeon crawling in the game is just perfect in the sense that it's just the right amount of crawling to keep you entertained. Now, the roguelike in this game is kind of interesting, as I will say the game itself has the feel of every time you go through a run, you build yourself up. The roguelike system in this game, some of the cards are kinda overpowered, so since it's a single player game, the card itself is always, once you get a certain build, you always go a certain build. See the next run and I'll show you about it. Now, the artistic of the game, which I will also include the narrative, it's kinda simplistic, better than it was in the early access days, but I'll give them this. It was one designer and a programmer working on this. So I'll give them that. They've gone up and do a lot of upgrades to touch up to the artistic, and the narrative itself is also quite nice because there is a true ending. But it's gonna be a hard one. And in a lot of cases, you might not really get to the end. So, now we get to the point that we'll all be waiting for. Why did I choose this game to be a game for game programmers or game designers to study? Well, the thing is, the system of the game itself is very beautifully made, and for designers and programmers, they need to know one thing. They need to build the game once, but they need to keep playing it a lot. This game was built in the essence of playing and building. The original game does not look quite like the final product now when it was released. So, for all of you out there that are trying to build a game, remember, if you're not having fun with it, you're not making a game that you want to put out. This game itself has very simple mechanics. If you think about it, the system is just a deck system. Even if you think about it, you can accomplish the whole game to have decks. The events are just draw from a deck. There are ways to think about it. If you were to put this game in its most simplest form, it can be a board game card game. Even the enemies intent are actually perfectly designed. Now, the AI itself does make it a bit different. Certain moves or certain reactions will cause the AI to change. But if you think about it, if you were to bring it down all the way to its base form, each enemy and monster will always do a set amount of moves. They may do the same move twice, they may not do the same move twice. So for designers out there, if you're trying to make a game that has AI or that has certain feel to it, why not you try drafting it in a paper form? Because if you think about it, Slay the Spire can be a physical game. Now, I won't say it should be a physical game with the amount of stuff that is, how to say, illogical. You'll have a lot of pieces for the game, but the game itself can be a paper prototype. So, for designers out there that are worried that the game, you can't program the game, keep it simple, and suddenly you have a game. Programmers out there, if you were to dissect what this game is about, and no joke, if you think about it very clearly and keep it simple, it's all about arrays. You just take stuff out from there and you just put it for the player to see. The AI will then choose something from its array and it will do it. Now the only thing is important is the intent. The AI part, you have to be a bit more complex, but overall it's just right. Now we have come to the end of the review. Is the game worth it? To me, I say yes, because it's not a big expense, its simplicity gives you repetitive playing, and for a developer or designer, this whole game can show you what you want to do, and that is keep playing your game until you find that your game is fun. That's it from me. Thanks guys for watching. See you guys in the next one.